All right, I'd like to call to order the final of our budget hearings for 2024. It's a budget review work session officially. And today is Thursday, September 14th. And what we have here are Counselors Hawk and McKim, myself, Counselors Iverson and Crossley in the Nat U. Hill room. Counselor Deckard is not joining us quite yet. I believe he's on his way. And I do not know if Counselor Munson is on, but she is also not present. Oh, she is on. I see now. Thank you. She's in the attendees, so if she could be promoted. Yep, that would be fantastic. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move to the adoption of our agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? No? No. All right. Then we will move on and go ahead and get started. Since this is a new night with a new audience for most of us, I want to welcome everyone to our 2024 budget review work session and remind everyone that this is not the final approval of our 2024 Monroe County annual budget, and nor is it a final formal budget hearing. The public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, October 3rd at 5:30 p.m. and the budget final adoption will occur on Tuesday, October 17th at 5:30 p.m. Both of those meetings are here in the Nat U. Hill room and on Zoom, and the public can make comment regarding the budget during those meetings. For this evening, departments are invited to join us in order to present their budget, and as a reminder, departments and other segments of local government are given an allotted time for the budget review. This is just based on how much time we spent on last year's budget review to kind of give us a guide and keep us on task. As always, council can extend your time, and we'll take the time that we need to look through the budget. However, we do want to be mindful that our discussion stays focused on the budget requests, and if we need to open a discussion on a different item, we can kind of reserve the right to ask our council administrator to reach out and schedule a time for discussion at our next available regular or work session. So during each budget review, the department may be asked to explain any increases, decreases, or additions to the 2024 budget proposal. Council members will then be given an opportunity to ask questions. They can make recommendations to increase or decrease account lines based on the discussion and or need of the department. Council will then vote on moving forward with the department's reviewed budget request. Again, this is not the final approval of the budget, but it is a recognition of the requests presented or as amended by council. Are there any questions about the process? I think we're up here, we kind of got it figured out. Number 4 is an overview on revenues and expenditures. Are there any updates that you'd like to share, Ms. Schell, or anyone else on council to the budget numbers based on changes from last night's session?
Yes, council, I do have an update with regards to last night. I'm sharing my screen. There were changes made in the general fund, public safety lit, sales disclosure, and auditor's ineligible. The auditor, assessor, prosecutor's office, and parks department had adjustments made with regards to the to their budgets, and so you can see that we now have a grand total in the general fund of $46,618,000 029 of budget requests. So we have put back into the general fund from the budgets 958,000 plus some dollars. The lit public safety, we now have a budget request amount of $3,948,198, and we've been able to put back into $273,026. The sales disclosure and the auditors ineligible also made some changes, but we added two of the sales disclosure. We moved the split pay into the sales disclosure fund, so that increased those requests by 28,000 plus. And then with the auditors ineligible, we put into the contractual an increase of 50,000. So that's where we stand right now with those budgets.
Great, thank you. Are there questions or comments?
Just, it appears that those numbers have been updated on the draft 4B.
Oh, yes, and I did just update those. We've been working on trying to get things in. Yes, I did update everything into the draft 4B, so that's where we're at.
Looking very good.
Would you like to see the draft 4B, everyone, or are you guys good with what we're doing?
I'm happy to take a quick look, actually, since it was just changed.
Jeff, I'm sorry, can you get to it? For some reason, I can't get
I'm
into
looking at it
Dropbox.
too.
All right, hang on.
You got it?
Well, if you've already got it up.
Yeah, let me share my.
So yeah, because I'm not connected to Zoom, so if you're in Zoom.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. There it is. And tell me where you want me to drive.
So if you look, we're now actually in a, technically we're now budgeted in a surplus in the general fund of over $1 million. Now, of course, we've done that so that we can free up that money then to give a substantial cost of living increase. But I mean, I think we've done a really good job.
We're getting there. Counselor Iverson?
Yeah, if we go 2 columns over into the health category, there's that deficit of a little over $1.5 million. But as we talked with them last night, we know that they're getting that opt-in dollars. So will that number change significantly?
Yeah, it'll be decreased by probably $1 million, about around $1 million.
So if you go over to this frozen levy amount, the total for the frozen levy, that's really going to help that situation a lot.
Yeah, it'll be pretty much technically within balance before we add in the.
That's right. Before we add in the cost of living.
Before we add in the cost of living. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for going over that.
You want me to stop sharing, or are we good?
Yes, I think that's fine. Thank you. Don't want to do any more review unless necessary. Are there any other questions from council? I'm going to assume not. And I would like to now invite Tom McGlasson, our Solid Waste Management District Director, to join us for our binding review of the Solid Waste Management District budget. Since Councilor Deckard isn't here, can I just give you that?
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8210, Solid Waste Management Special Operating Category requests of personnel, $1,557,645, supplies, $199,100, services, $1,297,050, capital, $10,000, for a total of $3,063,795.
Second.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. As always, appreciate your time and consideration reviewing our budget. We just, I guess I'll just briefly run through. I think this is a pretty straightforward budget. We do not have a lot of significant changes from the previous year. for the current year's budget. So we'll just run through some of the more significant changes, and then, of course, be happy to answer any questions or add any additional information that's requested. So, in the personnel services category, we alternate between doing a percentage wage increase and a flat wage increase. This year, we were scheduled to do a flat wage increase. So the 2024 budget has a $2,000 flat wage increase proposed for all employees. That was based on applying the CPI W index to the median wage of all district employees. And so the other increases in that category then are pretty much related to that wage increase, except for the wellness clinic. We do also utilize the Everside Health Clinic that the county has, and do pay for that service. They've advised we're probably looking at about a 10% increase for fees for that next year. And that's pretty much it for the personnel services category. In the supplies category, the really only significant increase is in our orange bag purchase, and that is unfortunately a contractual increase. We did about a year and a half ago put that supply out for bid, and we did only receive one response. It was from our current provider at that time. But their response, unfortunately, given the economic conditions at the time, did have an escalator clause in it. So we have to account for that in our budget. In the services category, our laboratory fees, as with everything else, costs are going up. They've advised us of what they anticipate their increases to be. For the services that we use, we've estimated that at about a $5,000 increase for next year. In the other professional services category, we have a significant increase, $51,000. However, $50,000 of that is a request made by our board to appropriate funds dedicated or earmarked for something that we're still looking, but we want to do something related to organics, food waste collection and composting, and do things to divert that from the waste stream and keep that from going to a landfill or an incinerator. So the board requested that appropriation, and we are, looking for projects for services that we can get involved in that will help divert that material from the waste stream. Utility costs, I think as everybody else is experiencing, are going up. We do have a fairly significant increase, $6,700 in our machinery and equipment rental. The bulk of that, unfortunately, is related to, we do have, I think, 3 pieces of equipment we have to rent twice a year when we do our groundwater sampling at the closed landfill. And those vendors have advised that there'll be increases on those rental fees next year. The leachate disposal up about $7,000, and that's a number that unfortunately does tend to increase, but fluctuates year to year, and that's really based on leachate generation anticipation that we've learned to estimate based on previous year's experience. So. Household hazardous waste disposal is going up. That actually is more of a volume-related increase than a fee increase. We do have a significant decrease in our other collection disposal contracts. That's our orange bag program, bulky items, and environmental compliance, illegal dump remediation, disposal, but almost $14,000. And that's just related to trends and experience that we're seeing, and adjusting that number accordingly. The hauling contract is going up $9,000. That's another one that's a contractual escalator clause that we just have to build into the budget. We are also anticipating about a $12,000 decrease in our glass hauling. That is related to the opening of the Rumpke facility. Actually have a meeting scheduled with them next week, and we do anticipate being able to divert our glass currently being hauled directly to Indy from our facilities to that facility. which should result in a significant decrease. For the record, would note glass is one of the few commodities that we deal with that's not currently under contract with a specific hauler or vendor. So we have that ability for that material. Tire recycling fees are going down about $4,000. And that's a new program that we just implemented about a year ago. And so that's really just an adjustment based on the numbers that we're seeing. We kind of overestimated the volume of tires that we anticipated when we started that program. And our recycling expense going down about $17,500. That's just a trend adjustment based on the volumes that we're seeing coming through our facilities. So, other than that, in the capitals, we have $1,500 decrease. That's really, we had a computer purchase budgeted this year. We don't anticipate any equipment purchases this year. We kind of have you can see in there we have a standing $10,000 appropriation for other improvements. That's a landfill dedicated appropriation. That's kind of a what if, just in case appropriation. So quickly and in a nutshell, that's our 2024 proposed budget. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
I'd like to make mention that Counselor Deckard is in person now.
Thank you. Yes, welcome. Thank you. Counselor McKim.
Just wanted to state as the president of the Solid Waste District Board that the board did review this budget multiple times and supported it unanimously.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Counselor Crossley?
Yes, thank you. I was curious, I wanted to go back. You had mentioned that recycling is down 17.5 because of the volume. You said that. I guess I'm curious, is it because people aren't like recycling at all? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's, I guess part of it is still adjusting that appropriation because that expense is something that we weren't subject to until about 3 years ago. And so, we're still adjusting that appropriation to match what we're actually expending. But our recycling volume numbers are down slightly from the past couple of years. Is that because people are recycling less? I don't mean, are they producing less? It could be also be that they're, making other changes on their purchasing or whatever, and there's just not that much material out there. It could also be that they're not recycling as much of that material as they used to. That we don't know.
Okay. You said you've seen that decrease over the past couple of years now?
Yeah, it has been a decreasing trend. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Munson?
Thank you. I'm happy to see this budget. It looks very familiar, similar to budgets of the Solid Waste District in the past. And I just wanted to comment that the decrease in costs for glass recycling is very welcome, and it's very good to see that. So thank you. No questions.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes, I'm interested in your discussion about reduction in the amount of recycling you're seeing. And I think there's a lot of families that are looking at, this is what it costs me to put gas in the car. And by the time they've done that, they have to make choices. So this may, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it certainly could add to the situation, I believe. So we might see an uptick in recycling once the gas prices go down and people feel like that they can put the gas in the car to go where they need to recycle.
We could. I mean, disposable income certainly factors in to waste generation for most everybody, and as the economy turns around, some of those numbers may change. I would just, for the record, I'm confident that our budget will be able to manage, any increases that we might see, and in the unlikely event that we can't, for the record, you would note on our Form 4B, our estimated cash balance at the end of 2024 is in excess of $3 million. So we certainly have reserve funds available that could be appropriated to cover anything.
Other questions from council? I'm interested in the rental equipment you mentioned for, I think you said groundwater sampling that you do twice a year. What is the equipment that you use, and how much would it cost? You might not have just looked at this recently, I get it, but do you have any idea how much it costs to buy that equipment?
The most expensive piece is we have it's a water quality meter that the water being pumped out of the wells has to flow through, that measures a number of parameters on it, things like dissolved oxygen, pH, turbidity, conductivity, and the last that we looked at that was about 2 years ago, and that was a $10,000 to $12,000 piece of equipment to purchase. And one of the other considerations to take into account, when you purchase something like that, is the maintenance of it, and being able to certify to the state when we send those results that meter was properly calibrated. It would actually be something that our staff would have to calibrate multiple times throughout the year, which not significant, but obviously there's a cost in purchasing the solutions, and being able to do that and certify to the state. If we can't do that to the state's satisfaction, that could call into question the results that we're sending them.
Are those results part of what go into the laboratory cost? I mean, are you having to send things off in addition?
No, those are field readings that we do off of that instrument. Then the samples that get pumped through that meter are then collected in bottles with various preservatives in them based on the parameters. And we do, if we're doing a short list event, what we call a short list event, that's about 175 different parameters that the water is analyzed for. Every third event is what we call a long list event, and that's over 250 parameters that the water is analyzed for.
Thank you. I appreciate that information. Are there other questions? Yes, Councilor Deckard.
I apologize for coming in late on what I know was, I'm sure, a very spectacular discussion that you had. But I had a question. I often use one of your facilities, and it always intrigues me to ask you questions about processes and things. When someone brings in materials such as the fluorescent lights that some of us have a few here or there, or some businesses have a lot here or there, when they bring that in, how much of a burden does that then become on your processing, dealing with them, getting rid of them, et cetera? Can you talk about that in any way?
Under normal circumstances, a resident bringing, I'm talking specific about materials that go through our household hazardous waste facility. And residents bringing those materials in, we have processes, we have a system in place, and it's pretty streamlined, and things flow very smoothly. Large quantities can create, somewhat of a hiccup, but we can manage those. We do ask that if somebody thinks that they have a larger quantity of materials, call ahead, schedule something. And I would also note that, we do have some limitations on what kind of dealings we can do with businesses and commercial entities due to our exempt status under the RCRA regulations that we want to maintain. So if we started taking materials from commercial entities, we might start dealing in volumes that would jeopardize that RCRA exemption.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And I want to compliment those processes because everything's always very easy and very clear. And the thing that
Thank you.
I would love to figure out one day is I know that your folks are very diligent on making sure the products have come from within the county. And I would be very curious one day, and again, we don't have to answer that today or maybe even think about it yet, for products that are outside the county, is there a mechanism by which other communities could assist us with this operation so that there's not a big pile of fluorescent bulbs that are hitting outside the county line and therefore getting into water, all that stuff that we don't want, but maybe we have an answer those communities could buy into?
Well, we have done some things with some neighboring county solid waste districts in the past. We don't currently have any recurring program or collection events in place. But what we also look at there is that we're funded by Monroe County property tax dollars, and so we try to make sure that our services are specific to the people that are funding us.
Yeah, I get it. I'd love to figure out a way that others could opt in and we could get regional, because it's, when I think of the lake and just we're all in this in some strange way together, and maybe down the road we could look at that, and that might encourage other communities to do their own portions perhaps down the way. So
we can certainly continue to reach out to the neighboring solid waste districts and see what they're willing to do to work with us to bring materials into our facility.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate everything that you've done and all that you tell us about with it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other questions on this budget? Okay, seeing none, may I have a roll call vote on moving forward with the solid waste management's 2024 special operating budget? That's what we're talking about.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Now we're at 5A2.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8283, Solid Waste District Debt Service, category requests of, in the services category, $304,770 for a total of the same.
Second.
All right, this one's pretty simple.
Yeah, this is the debt service fund budget. This is related to the bond that was taken out in 2007 to close the landfill. It's pretty straightforward, slightly less than it was last year, as tends to be the case. Since I've been asked by our board and I've been asked in the past by the council, I will note for the record, the final payment on that bond is due on February 1st of 2027. So we're close, we're getting there. We'd be glad to have that out from under us.
Questions from council? Councilor Iverson?
I just wanted to thank you for providing the historical view of those interest payments. It's nice to see them go down.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions on the debt service fund? Could we have a roll call vote on moving forward with the solid waste management's debt service budget request?
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1215, Solid Waste District Non-Reverting Capital category requests of, in the capital category, $3,414,080 and a total of the same.
No way, no. That,
Pardon me. All right. I'm going to correct my previous way out of control motion. And I'm going to stay instead for this capital category, $45,515 in a total of the same.
second.
I see exact, okay.
This is a confusing budget that we have to do every year. But this is a non-reverting capital improvement fund that the district established some years ago prior to me becoming director, that we really don't contribute to currently. But DLGF has advised us that we should request and have approved a zero appropriation budget so that we have the budget on file, so that if the need arises to use money out of this fund, it's there, we can request the appropriation to do so. So this is actually a zero appropriation budget that currently has a fund balance of $45,515.
Interesting. Questions from council?
Yeah, so I guess then, why are we appropriating 45,000 if you really want zero appropriation?
That's
DLGF asked him to? Is that what you're saying?
the sheet that I'm looking at shows zero. It just has a fund total of $45,515.
Oh. Oh,
I see. I captured, it says fund
Yep.
total, and so that's the number that was captured, so.
Okay, council, I move we set the line capital building improvements to zero.
Second.
okay,
It is confusing. I apologize.
got it.
And we definitely don't need $3.5 million.
No, we definitely don't need that.
Nor do we have it.
I don't think that would be.
I'll take the $3 million if you want to give it to me.
It's day 5. That's all I got. Are there questions on the motion to reset to zero? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. Are there questions further on this budget? No? All right, and so could we have another roll call on the approval of moving forward with this non-reverting capital fund?
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes our review. Excuse me. So we will now move to item B. What are we at? 5B, which
5B1.
with the Monroe Fire Protection District.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8603 Special Fire General with category requests of in personnel, $13,418,990. In supplies, $501,250. In the services category, $1,075,000. For a total of $14,995,240.
Second.
Welcome, Chief Dillard.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing this evening, so if I say huh or ask questions, then I apologize.
Okay.
So just kind of in keeping with what we've done in previous years, just a quick background. This year's budget, the 2022 actuals, do include the current geographical area proposed in 2024. So there's no additional townships. The actuals for 2022 are the same as what you would be looking at in 2024. In years past, that has been different, and it's made it complicated. This year's the most straightforward it's been for a while. With that said, this budget really includes changes that have been talked about since 2017. The 2025 budget will be the last year that includes the phasing in of personnel. So we're the second to last year of doing that. Now, running through the categories. In the personnel category, there's a 4% cost of living adjustment applied to all of the paid positions. There is an additional fire marshal position, which was part of that long-term plan. It is something that this year specifically we have realized probably should have been in the 2023 budget. The amount of commercial properties that we have been inspecting and re-inspecting is much higher than what was originally anticipated back in what would have been 2020. So that is definitely a needed position. This includes 6 additional full-time firefighters. Originally, the plan called for 8 in 2024, but after last year's large recruit class, we've decided we'd like to keep that number a little smaller. So as of right now, the 8 would be pushed back to 2025 instead of the 6 that were planned in 2025. With those 6 additions, there's increases calculated in the incentive qualifications line, the officer pay line, the substitute and mercy overtime training and special event line, the uniform allowance line, health insurance, the 77 fund employer contribution. Again, in our budget, you'll notice there are 2 separate firefighter lines. When the merger occurred, there were some individuals in regular perf and other firefighters in 77 fund. As a 77 fund department, all new hires must go into that line. So eventually, years down the road, as folks retire, there'll be just one line for all firefighters. And then the life insurance line, which I'll talk about in just a bit. Holiday pay, adding the 6 firefighters is 2 additional per shift day. So we need to account for 2 firefighters additionally on duty for each of the 10 fire district holidays. The administrative assistants, we have looked at that pay increase to align it once again with the Pat D grade for Monroe County's pay scale in 2023 this year. Now next year, we'll be moving that line in unison with the other salary lines, and it will adjust with the fire district cost of living adjustment. Medicare, based on figures, we see an additional need of $7,000 in that line for the forecasted need in 2024's budget. The 6 new firefighters increases that employee line in the 77 fund to 76. If we do fully staffed in 2024, would require an additional $10,000 in life insurance. That line was lower this year because we've not had all of those positions filled. We actually exhausted our hiring list with the last 4 individuals, and we're out of folks to hire for now. So we will be starting a process probably advertisement-wise late this year and complete that in early 2024 to get positions filled. One new line here is the post-employment health insurance line. This has been done in cooperation with the local 5343. The $60,000 is a matching contribution by all full-time personnel in which we're looking to offer a post-employment health insurance option. A lot of departments contribute funds additionally to retirement funds. The 457 is common, but we wanted to look at something specifically for health. Firefighting is consistently in the top stressful positions, and it's directly linked to a lot of chronic illnesses. The district has experienced a lot of folks who in their early years of retirement came down or were diagnosed with job-related illness. And this is something that has been an important topic to our members, if you will, for quite some time. So that is new. And that wraps up the personnel category. As far as supplies go, as Councilor Hawk mentioned earlier, fuel prices have creeped up again here at the end of 2023. We were under budget earlier this year, but prices have steadily increased. So we show a 7% increase over this year's budget. There's a 10% increase in the vehicle maintenance supply category. That is because we are intending to put apparatus in service at the Washington Township Station in 2024. We are currently in the process of getting a bid packet together to look at the site work this year with building construction next year. So that is something that we are looking forward to getting done, getting in service and behind us. In the services category, general insurance, based on claims that we've had and quotes that are provided by our insurance providers. Workers' compensation insurance, this increase is based on the results of claims. This was another one of those tricky ones that is now kind of normalizing, if you will. When the district was smaller, the claims resulted in this, to be honest with you, us coming out ahead in the insurance world. But as things have right-sized, we're getting to where the premium increases reflect the losses of the larger district, which is approximately 40% larger than before. That is pretty much it for the general fund.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Are there questions from council to my right?
I was trying to find your 4B. Do we have, I'll just ask you. Have you determined what you think that rate's going to be? Is the rate going to stay the same, lower, or go up?
It's very close to staying the same. The rate for the general fund is being advertised at 0.2546. That's with 97% NAV estimated. So if the net assessed value comes in at 100%, our rate will be 90 or 0.24, drum roll, 0.2470. Which this year we're at 2.454.
Very close.
You know, we have someone very interested in that. So I'll send him a little email.
Good.
Years ago, we had someone who really watched the budget when it was just the Clear Creek budget. And we always knew we came out ahead when he seemed to be happy. And so we have somebody else who's very interested, and I'm grateful, that the public's watching and helps us stay on top of making sure the public hears what you have to say. To that end, I encourage you every year. I say this, I'm going to say it again. I would love for you to start having your meetings here when you're going over budgets so that we can capture it on CATS, or we can make sure that we can hear what is being said. But it's because it's difficult. I know you do the Zoom meetings and we can go on that, but it is very difficult to follow in your meeting room. And this room is set up better. It's still not perfect, but it's better. So.
Other questions from council?
Are you going to talk a little bit more about the Washington Township construction units budget and the Cume budget?
Correct, yep. So one thing I would like to note on those rates, we've got a document that we're still finalizing and we'll send out and post on our website. But the projection at this time last year on August the 18th of 2022 was to have a rate of 0.2520. So we're still coming in slightly below that. Last year, we expected the 2023 rate to be at 0.2530. We came in lower than that. The biggest issue that we've had, again, in this first few years is that juggling of the miscellaneous revenue lines. As the different equations and calculations for those various lines come in and the state feeds us numbers, it never seems that our estimations were spot on. They're always close, but that rate increase this time around is an increase, no doubt, but it is within the margin of error of those stats.
Counselor Iverson?
Thank you for being here. Can we go back to the budget? I have a question on the personnel lines. Please and thank you. One of the, in our conversations, one of the things that's really been a eureka moment for me is to learn that you don't just do fire, but you also are probably a lot of times the first on the scene. And so I'm looking at line 8231, ambulance staffing is set at 0. And I know that we've been working on some funding for different services there. I kind of wanted to, see how, what are the plans there, and not necessarily in the personnel line specifically, but just in general, how's that going?
So, miraculously, we received VIN numbers for 3 of the 4 ambulances today.
Oh my goodness.
Which is exciting because that means the chassis have arrived at factory and we can start looking at receiving those sometime soon. Most likely at least one of them in the month of October. That's exciting for us. We still have lots of conversations to have in the EMS world as far as how the fire district's ambulance service is going to fill the role in Monroe County. The important thing for us is to say that when we put in the request to you all in the commissioner's office, it was for 2 ambulances to immediately back up the current ambulance provider, make 1 available for special events to alleviate some of the workload that they're picking up, and to have 1 in reserve so that when we're maintaining or utilizing those vehicles, we have 1 in a ready state. By the end of this year, those resources are going to be available and the fire district is going to be able to utilize them. The tricky part will be how we staff those ambulances in unison with the current EMS providers. Will there be others that come out when the ambulance service goes live at the fire district? We don't know. We know that based on need of outcoming counties coming into the county, there's approximately 1,000 calls per year that the fire district may alleviate running the role that we're talking about. However, we also know that there are areas that IU Health has to take an ambulance from the city and take it to an exterior area in the county. And that takes a larger time for them to respond and then return. So there may be areas where it's beneficial for us to take those calls. Our folks are probably responding anyway, and we have to hash those things out. But we'll have our BLS transport sometime in early 2024. We will likely have ALS capabilities sometime by the end of the year, and we're excited for the opportunity. The reason the line is in there and it's zeroed is initially some of the staffing that we put in those ambulances will probably be some of those new hires from the firefighter line. As revenue begins to come in from the ambulance service, we would love to put those firefighter positions back into their original purpose and hire folks in that ambulance staffing line. So I apologize, I missed putting that in my explanation sheet.
No, it actually, it's one of the really exciting things that are happening, particularly when, we hear about the need that exists in the community and the potential that if we didn't have this resource for a lot of negative things to happen. So I'm really glad that you're in the space now and you're taking care of it now.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes, not long ago, I was in conversation, I don't know whether it was with you or perhaps Fire Chief from Ellisville, was that you were going to be working together in that station off of Curry. So you want to talk a little bit about how that plan is moving forward, or what you're doing with that?
Sure, yeah. So earlier this year, Ellisville Fire Department and the Fire District initiated an all-out automatic aid agreement. So we're sending our resources based on AVL, which is Automatic Vehicle Locator. So the closest unit is responding to any call in either of our jurisdictional areas. In those conversations, we discussed the fire station on Curry Pike, which has drastically helped part of the fire district response area just south of Curry and, what is 3rd Street. So the discussion was that station has 2 personnel in it currently. Would the district be interested in shifting 2 personnel there to make that a fully crewed fire company, if you will? And we are certainly looking to move to do that. We had a meeting earlier today, and we discussed placing 1 full-time firefighter there with 1 additional part-time firefighter, along with the full-time and part-time firefighter from Ellisville. So as that shakes out, which will be in January 1st, hopefully, there will be an additional fully staffed firehouse on Curry, 50% staffed by the district, 50% by Ellisville. It's a big deal. For Station 29 by the airport, it means that a full engine company is responding from just minutes away, and vice versa. Station 71 in Ellisville will have a fully staffed engine coming instead of a driver with 1 packed up, ready to go firefighter. So big increase in the fire service world in that area.
That's good.
Thank you.
Good to hear. Councilor McKim.
I was just wondering, have there been any developments with respect to an automatic aid agreement with City of Bloomington Fire Department?
Several months ago, had a conversation with Chief Moore referencing getting some of the countywide automatic aid training back going. That's something that has been happening on a regular basis since then. At that time, he advised that he was in support of getting automatic aid back up and running, but there's been no progress.
I sure would like to see that happen.
Absolutely.
And we're all set with Ellisville, right?
Correct.
We've
Yeah,
got all
absolutely.
Other questions from council? Okay, seeing none then, could I have a roll call vote on moving forward with Monroe Fire Protection District's Special Fire General Fund budget request?
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes?
Sorry. Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes?
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Sorry.
Counselor
Yes.
Munson, this is for the special fire.
Did you hear me say yes?
No, thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 8691, Special Fire Cumulative Fire, with category requests in the capital category of $1,178,766 and a total of the same.
Second.
Okay, our cumulative fund is fairly straightforward. We've got 3 lines, Station 21, Rescue 22, and Engine 22. Each of those 3 lines are the actual payment costs due for the financing on the loans for those apparatus or station. Small vehicles will be replacing, again, on our replacement schedule. 2 of our small vehicles, squads, brush trucks, supports, utilities are the types of vehicles for that line. Miscellaneous category, that's what we utilize for fire hose, any emergency lighting, sirens, radios for apparatus, any hand tools or specialized equipment. Personal protective equipment, the vast bulk of that line is always the 20 sets of fire gear that we replace. Per NFPA, that gear are good for 10 years. We've got approximately 200 sets of gear, so we have that on a recurring replacement schedule. Building renovations, we have several stations where the parking lots are in need of some resealing, and one roof that is in need of repair. Apparatus replacement line. That line will be to replace Marine 21. That is the sole watercraft for search and rescue and fire suppression for Lake Monroe. If you get online and you look at some of the marina fires and whatnot that have occurred in the last couple of years, the boat that we have now was purchased 20 years ago, and it is not adequate for the size of marina that currently exists on Lake Monroe. So we've also incurred quite a bit of maintenance issues with that over the last 5 years, and it is time for an upgrade. And then Station 26. So previously, Washington Township had contributed $300,000 to the donation line at the fire district, specifically earmarked for use for a fire station in Washington Township. They also deeded the property that they own on Chambers Pike for the fire station, so the fire district is in possession of that. They passed over all of the site plans, the site work, and the building plans, and the work that was done. Now, there were some updates that needed to be done, so we have been working with Doug Bruce and Bynum Fanuel to finalize that, send out to bid. The plan will be to complete that site work this year and bid the building and construct the building in 2024. The $150,000 and what will be left from site work from the $300,000 is likely not going to cover the entire cost of construction. So we'll probably do similar to what we did with Station 21, where we'll get a short-term loan, and that would likely result in a $150,000 line in 2025 and maybe a small portion in 2026, but I don't see any need further than 2026 for Station 26.
Lots of 26s. Okay. Are there questions about this fund?
Just that I'll be very excited to finally see that station in Washington Township. I mean, I know that's been
Me too.
in discussion and argument for a long time.
Yeah. Counselor Deckard.
I wanted to add to that what Councilor McKim is saying. I know this summer we made an effort in the PS Lit Committee to try to get cooperation between all those entities, including Ellettsville, Bloomington, our friends in Steinsville, and of course here in the county, to get that done, and we were unable to do it. And I was really disappointed that we could not come together to make that happen, because when I listened to what you were saying on the last funds and this, I think that you've been on this message for a long time, and I think it's worthy of some praise. You've talked, and your board has talked, and you are well represented here about how there are needs in this county that match needs anywhere else, and people need someone there from your department. And I hear all the time about how much this department's doing. We go out to community events, whether you're in Smithville, or Harrodsburg, whatever the event is, you all are there. When we have an unfortunate loss, such as when we lost deputy driver, your department was right there doing all those things. And I think that those things add up, and it doesn't take very long to go across the border and be in your territory or this territory or that, you name it. And I think that's commendable what's happening, because those needs in the county will not change. In fact, I get that they're only gonna grow. So we had a chance to do that this summer, and I think there's some folks in government and public service that really dropped the ball on that. Now I'm hopeful we can get that going, but that need is not going away. So I'm just grateful for all this, and that you're thinking about that, because those of us that have watched this community a long time, like the folks on this council, we know that need is real. And whether it's down where Cheryl's at or down by the lake, it's going to be going on all the time. So thanks, Chief, for coming in here, and Maury as well.
Other comments or questions on this fund? All right, could we have a roll call vote, please, on the Monroe Fire Protection District's 2024 Special Fire Cumulative Fire Budget Request?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes,
Motion passed unanimous.
thank you. I really appreciate all that you're doing and
Thank you.
appreciate you being here.
We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item number 6 with our county fair.
Council, I moved open for discussion and review Fund 100806 General County Fair with category requests of, in the services category, $113,755 and a total of the same.
Second.
Okay. Do we have anyone from that group here?
I can talk about good things at the county fair, but I expect they have more detail.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just checking online to see if there's anything. I don't see anything. Auditor Smith?
Thank you. I wanted to point out to you, I know I've done it once before, but I want to tell you again. In the fair book, on the description on how the fair is paid for, it talks about how they used to have a tax rate, it's been taken away from them. It does not say that the county provides funding from them from tax revenue. And that, as auditor, that kind of really rubs me the wrong way. You know, I'm very supportive of 4-H and I participate in the county fair, but I would really like them to put in the fair book, in the page where they talk about that, you know, that the county residents have a, you know, maximum levy that they pay for taxes, and part of that is given to the county fair. Because I want every citizen in Monroe County to know they contribute to that fair when the county council sets that budget. I think that's pretty important.
Thank you. Yeah.
Council, I move we continue this budget.
Second.
Counselor Munson?
I just want to thank Auditor Smith for an excellent suggestion. And I am happy to work with the Fair Board officers about providing information to fair goers. I think they deserve to know it, and it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Excuse me, was the motion to table continue?
Continue.
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 To the, well, I guess at this point, it's the work session, right?
Okay.
That's when we'll do all our cleanup.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Counselor.
Yes, and I know that the public and many of us just think of the fair as being for 4-H, the Fair Board, and that's as much as we love going there to participate in what 4-H does. That is not a part of this budget at all. So we need to make sure, because we don't want the public to think 4-H was negligent not showing up for their budget, because this is not their budget. It's the
Right.
Fair Board's budget.
That's correct. Yeah, we already did the
Just,
extension and 4-H programming side of things. Any other questions on continuing this item? All right, could we have a roll call vote on continuing the Monroe County Fair's General Fund budget request?
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes?
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. Our next item is the budget for our own council office.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1000-0061 General Counsel Office with category requests of in personnel, $432,104, in supplies, $1,300, in services category, $274,115, for a total of $707,519.
Second.
Thank you. And our council administrator and I discussed this, and she will do a run through, and I'm available for questions on our budget.
In the personnel portion, I want to point out that the council administrator position is going up to the 8-year step, so there's an increase there. We added the assistant council administrator position. That did come in at a Pat A, and that is the amount there. So that you'll see an increase in that. And then there's the longevity with regards to those positions. We removed the part-time hourly amounts to compensate for the assistant position. And so then there's the increase in the insurance, the FICA, and the PERF because of that. Mm-hmm. With the supplies, there's a slight increase with regards to printing, copy, paper, that kind of thing. The dues amount stayed the same. I did do an increase with regards to the contractual because of WIS. We have seen an increase in their hourly rate, so I increased that by $10,000. We did a slight increase of $1,000 in travel training with regards to the new personnel. There was a request to do an 8% increase with regards to the community services rather than going with the 4% maximum levy growth quotient. So there's that increase of to $173,000. And we did a increase with the BEDC due to the membership for 2023 did increase. So, and that's all the increases with regards and changes with regards to the council budget.
Thank you for the review. Are there questions or comments on our budget? Councilor McKim.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm probably going to make a motion, but I just want to see what everybody else thinks. I do think that on community services, we've been asking every other department to try to trim what they can in the interest of prioritizing raises for county employees. I think our practice of increasing the community service by the maximum levy growth quotient is a good one. And so I definitely would support increasing it by that 4%. But I really think that that's an area where we could trim a little bit, just like other departments have been voluntarily doing, just to kind of show that we're serious and we've got skin in the game with respect to the employee raises as well.
Are there other comments or questions? Sorry, Councilor Iverson.
Yeah, my understanding is that the assistant council administrator position has been posted and interviews are going on. Is that correct?
Yes, we have interviews scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh, so we'll know pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Things move fast in county government.
Ooh. Public sector. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's good to know. I'm a big supporter of that position, so I'm glad that that's going to be filled pretty quickly.
Councilor Crossley.
Thank you. I understand the idea of we can't really ask other people to trim if we're not trimming. My concern with that is the fact that some of us that were on the Sophia Travis Grant Committee just really heard the nature of the funding for people who needed the items, and the funding and services for a lot of different things. So I guess I would be okay with us if we don't do the 8 and go to the 4, but I think personally I would feel comfortable with taking, maybe kind of going back and circling back around that after all is said and done with the budget, to see if there would be, if we can't do the 8, and if we can do a little bit more than the 4, that would be my comfort level with that. Because I get it, but I know that the needs of the community aren't going to go down. They're going to continue to increase with everything else. So I would be fine with that. But again, my comfort level would be us trying to come back and circle back, just kind of like how we're doing everything else, and seeing if there is a possibility, if we can do a little bit more than the 4 and maybe less than the 8.
Okay. Counselor Deckard and then Counselor Munson.
I appreciate what Councilor McKim is saying, and Councilor Crossley, on finding an effort where this council puts our money literally where our mouths are with every other department. And I would say if we're doing an 8% in this initial request, and Councilor McKim is talking about the 4%, I'd be happy to get things done. I'd be happy to meet somewhere between there, much like what Councilor Crossley is saying, but I see the need for that. I also, as I think about what the county has done, a few years ago there were a lot of discussions about, why is government just generally, why are public servants not doing things that are alternatives to what they normally do, such as in the justice system? We heard a lot for funds that should be going elsewhere. And what I'll say is, frankly, for the county and in the city too, and the townships, I throw them in there, we've been doing these alternative things for a number of years before it was cool. And that's okay, and that's a good thing. And at the same time as we do those things, though, I think we do have to recognize our folks who are working in our system and that we got to take care of. We have a large car industry that here in a few hours may go to strike because workers are saying, hey, look, we need a little bit more coming out from underneath that hood to go into our pocketbooks. And I think we have heard a very similar message. And so I'm happy to for us to keep working on this on a number that shows that this council is in it with the rest of the good folks that we've asked the very same things from.
Thank you. Counselor Munson.
Thank you. Every year on the Sophia Travis Grants Committee, when we review the applications, we get to hear the recommendations from the organizations that deal with some of the most crucial problems in our county and community. And for many years now, the key problem has been food, and food. We have, with a very small amount of taxpayer dollars, helped the organizations that really put together all kinds of other resources to double, triple, quadruple, and many times over the actual amount of funding. But then again, we look at the amount of money that we have, and we could use twice as much, not just 8% more. We could use twice as much to meet the needs that we see year after year. And so I certainly do support the idea of coming back and reconsidering again what we would all feel comfortable with once we meet the needs of our departments, which have to be first priority for the council. And I think it's worth giving our community services a second look. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor McKim.
Thank you, and I certainly do appreciate all the work that the Sophia Travis Grants Committee has done on in evaluating all the needs, and I certainly don't disagree that the needs are far greater than available funding. I will say that we've also had the opportunity through ARPA to address some of the similar needs, certainly not all of them, but I know that there have been, for example, in the area of food, I know that there have been some ARPA commitments given there as well. And I also do support circling back around. You know, one alternative is always to look at what are the reversions at the end of the year, or what are likely to be the reversions, and to do some kind of additional appropriation. So, yeah, I certainly think there are options for increasing it beyond, beyond what it is now. So I'm going to move in the interest of showing solidarity with other departments who have made cuts to support employee salaries. I move we set line 30031 community service to 167,000.
Second.
Okay, and so just to be clear, then that is putting it back at the 4% as opposed to the 8%. Are there any questions or comments on the motion to reduce? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Munson,
I will vote yes, in the sense that we are going to come back and reconsider. So my vote is yes. on this.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
And I do think even so, I mean, if things look different perhaps in March or so, I mean, there could be an additional appropriation just as other departments request those. So we'll circle back at the end of this budget process, and we will, have another opportunity to think about this. But I agree that this is a more prudent approach, given the balance of needs across county government. Are there other comments or?
Yes, considering that the legislation has changed and that we can use the elected officials training, the budget that we spoke of just yesterday, to cover some of the county council's training, I believe we could take that $1,000 back out of it, the growth, because that's a lot of growth in that budget for one person, when the whole budget was $2,500 for everybody. Just thinking.
I mean, I agree with that. So, Michelle, wouldn't that be your understanding that this line would really only need to be for staff, because counselors can now travel on the elected officials training fund?
Is that the way that works? Okay, yeah, sure, that works.
Okay, so
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So since we have that new funding stream, we can take that. Okay.
okay.
So council, I move we reduce line 30028 training travel from $3,500 to $2,500.
Second.
Thanks. Any discussion on that reduction? It's a good idea. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Sorry, who seconded?
Me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on our council office budget? Okay. In that case, when you're ready, could we have a roll call vote?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
No?
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-1.
Thank you. So at this point in our meeting, we are going to take a short recess of, I think we will do 15 minutes approximately. Let's try to be back here at 6:40. Thank you. There we go. Thank you. We are ready to resume our budget reviews. So we are at number 8 on the agenda.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 1127-0000 Convention Visitor Tourism with category requests of in services, $2,522,000. Pardon me, let me restate this. $2,522,777 for a total of $2,522,777.
Second.
Hi and welcome. It's good to see you. Thank you for your patience. We were hungry.
It's good to be here. And to kick off, I'd just like to say this time last year, the tourism industry was in a different place. We were in a different place as a community, and with no capital improvement board and an uncertain future, as a expanded convention center and a vehicle for economic impact, and we're in a much different place today. And so before we start, I just want to thank this body, the county commissioners, the city council, and also the mayor's office for coming together and getting that done. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to put that on record and say thanks. So
Our pleasure.
before we get into the budget, I just want to tell you a little bit about how we came to that and the state of tourism in Monroe County and the growth of that economic vehicle is evident by the growth in the innkeeper's tax. In 2019, we had a record year of 2.8 million. Of course, then we went into the pandemic, and here 2 years removed, we're almost $1 million ahead of where that record year was in 2019. So it has recovered. It is robust. And we're ready for a right-sized facility for this community. This budget is based on that growth and sets us up well. It's a conservative budget considering the growth that we've experienced, but I think it gives us an opportunity to invest in other tourism projects as well as an expanded convention center and projects that'll add vibrancy to both Bloomington and Monroe County. So, but happy to go through the budget and talk through some of those changes. We did, if you'll see, we've done a 10% growth to both the Visit Bloomington for visitor center services and a 10% growth to our convention center management company. I do want to point out that all of the funds that are used and expended here are coming from the innkeeper's tax, not from any county funds.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments on this budget? Go right ahead.
Yes, this is a question. This is a question for Visit Bloomington. Just have there been any changes in your staffing level over the last year? Is this budget adding any positions, or is it staying the same?
Mike McAfee. Hi, I'm Mike McAfee, Executive Director at Visit Bloomington. No changes on our staffing at all. It's been at the same level for many years.
Thank you.
Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I'm interested simply because this is like the talk of the entire county government, and that is whether or not we could provide a cost of living raise. And so could you tell me what your cost of living raise was considered at?
What my cost of living raise is for 2024? Yeah. Well, I can tell you that we are seeing, it's about a $180,000 increase to our budget, and all of that increase is going towards marketing, event development, and cost of living, personnel benefit.
Well, that's what I think what
inflation.
she's asking.
So,
What percentage raise are you giving?
right around 5% is what, I mean, we haven't done that yet. We won't do that until December. It'll depend on what we get approved and where we're at with that. But I have budgeted up to 5% raises at this point. But I always look at what the county's doing, what the city's doing, what the university's doing, and put that number in. That's what the CDC has approved in the budget we gave to you, and my board has as well. But it'll really depend on how the year ends and where we're at. But it'll be up to that amount.
Other questions? Counselor Iverson.
Yeah, so we just heard what an additional 10% is going to be done with the visitor center, increased marketing, making sure that wages are going up and some really good things. What about the convention center service line that's going up by $36,000? Tell us what great things are going to happen there.
Well, I think we are focused on still taking care of that building. You know, a lot of our increases over the last few years have definitely gone to repair and maintenance. It's 32 years since it's been open now. We are back up to almost close to levels of 2019. So it's very active at the building right now. And so with that activity comes increased repairs and maintenance. And so our personnel discussion is similar to what, you know, Mike shared with the Visitors Bureau. But, you know, it's costs of health insurance goes up as well.
Sure.
So those are primarily.
Yeah, maintaining
But, you know, our marketing, Visit Bloomington does a lot of the marketing for the convention center. So we work with them closely as well.
Sure. No, that sounds great. You know, I've certainly noticed an uptick in the number of times I've been going to the convention center for different activities. And I think this is money well spent to make sure that we're going into a good facility.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It's still very important to keep up the reputation. We still have groups from around the state and Midwest that are coming, and you know, just that level of service and quality for our current events that are happening is still very important.
Sure.
And group size is growing, and that's definitely what we're noticing. So people are feeling more comfortable getting out and, you know, are having events that you know, they've either postponed for a while and now they're having them again, and so they're starting to see their attendance grow.
So in addition to attendance size or group size, are we also seeing a number of bookings increase as well?
And revenue, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's closer to 2019 at this point. So
That's
by
really
the
good
end of
news.
the year, we should be right at where 2019 was, which was a record year.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Counselor Munson.
Thank you. I'm sorry I can't be with the council in person tonight to hear your good report in person. It's very optimistic, and I'm excited to hear about the additional revenue coming in. But I would like you all to share with the public what they're going to expect to see in terms of changes at the convention center, using both the additional funding talked about tonight and also the ARPA funding that has been discussed as our deliberations have gone on late summer and this early fall. Could you tell us that, please?
Yes, the ARPA funding, I can give you an update on that. We've done estimates on some costs, and of course they've come in higher than we had anticipated, but right now, we worked with the county, Richard Kreider with the maintenance department, and looked at our HVA system and the chiller that's there, and also our freight elevator. Both of those things are a little past the end of their life, and if they go out, we're in big trouble, and it could be 9 months to get one in. So And they're big ticket items. So I think that right now that's what we're focused on. If there's money left over from that, we really do need to do some room upgrades as well as some of the AV upgrades. So at this point, we're looking at how those costs are going to come in. And with this budget, it's just maintenance and repair is basically what we're focused on. And if people are going to have their most important event of the year there, they want to make sure that it looks good, it feels good. And we've got a fabulous staff at the convention center. We've really all been through a lot over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think it's really brought everybody closer. And they're very professional, educated with the events, good at communicating with the group contacts. So really super proud of them, as well as our catering and AV departments and our other suppliers. There's a whole set of 30 different contractors around town that help keep that building going, from electric to decorators to like event suppliers. So it's it's been a good team, and working with everybody makes it fun. And this business is a fun business, so we want to get to more of that.
Absolutely. Councilor Deckard?
I was just going to add, you do have a fabulous team. I got a recent opportunity, as you know, to watch up close as your team responded to not only an event, but things that happen during events.
Right.
And they are awesome. Really fast team. And in my youth, when I was in that industry, I don't know if I could have run with all your good folks, including yourself. And the one thing that does stand out as far as our convention center needs is that you are managing an incredibly challenging building, in that it's got some age, and that age goes in certain ways. And the way it's constructed, if that freight elevator would go out, or the other elevator, right, that's massive, massive problem, particularly for the clientele that are going to come in. So as we all keep moving towards this good progress with the CIB, which is awesome, and the convention center, we kind of have to keep that in mind on that, the age of that facility, and that just stacks up after a while. Even the best of teams they can only do so much.
Yeah, and I will share, this is its 100th anniversary, so we really need to be pretty excited about it, what it's achieved over the last 30 years. I mean, there's 500 events, it's a good, sturdy, stable building. It was good vision and execution, and has been a popular, for lots of memories throughout the whole community.
Other questions or comments?
Well, if we're going to talk about memories, my memory of that building is when I worked for Tom O'Daniel Ford in the accounting department. And then the day that we walked in there, and it was Bill Cook and Steve Ferguson and my friend Bill Finch, and we all went in there, and they told us what the dream was going to be, and you folks all made it come true, and the community worked with you, and so I look forward to seeing what the next stage will be.
Yeah, and it's time, so it's.
Any other comments or questions? All right, in that case, could we have a roll call vote on moving forward with the Convention Center's Visitor Tourism Fund budget request?
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 40050000, Convention Center operating, with category requests of, in the services category, $594,000, for a total of the same.
Second.
And this is a budget that is generated by the room revenue at the convention center. It's deposited to Monroe County. we get it back out through our management contract and a few other expenses. Some of those we've like put over to the other funds that we were talking about in the budget before. But so that's what this budget is.
Questions or comments on this one? No? All right. Could we have a roll call vote on moving forward with the convention center's operating budget request?
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4602-0000 Convention Center debt with category requests of in services $636,000 for a total of the same.
Second.
Yes.
So this fund covers the existing debt on the convention center, our renovation, and then the purchase of contiguous land to the existing convention center. And I've been paying on this for several years. We have just a few years left to go, and this would be our annual payments for the upcoming year. Current balance on that loan, principal balance is about 1.8 or a little over 1.8 million when we get to April of next year. So it's sitting at around 2 million right now.
Are there questions on the debt service fund? No. You said it's getting close to being finished, and I believe I remember that
Right.
we've entered a period where there's no penalty for early.
So we're in that period. So we could pay off the loan at any point with no penalty. So, and the debt, if we paid it based on schedule, would retire in April of 2026. So
Okay.
just about 3 years away.
But we are, my understanding is at this point, we're primarily paying principal anyway, right? So there's
Right.
not a huge, there's no penalty for early
Right.
early payment, but there's really no
Right.
advantage to early payment.
So we paid most of
Getting
the
it done.
interest already. So.
Yes, that makes sense. Other questions or comments? Yes, Counselor Hawk.
I know I should know this, but since I don't, I'm going to ask the question. The revenue coming in from the other that we owe the loan for, at least in part, for the rental on those properties, does that go into this portion of the fund to help pay it
Yes,
back?
you're absolutely right, Marty. I neglected to mention that. So we do have a few properties on the land that we purchased that do go do go into this fund as well to fund the loan. So thanks for reminding me. I did forget to mention that.
I thought I remembered it being like that, but I wasn't
It's significant.
certain.
It's about $110,000 a year.
Right.
Not a lot, but still.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Sounds like a lot to me.
We sort of like my sister's
Yeah.
closet being there. Could we
Yeah.
just work around them?
Other comments or questions? All right. Could I have a roll call vote, please, on moving forward with the Convention Center's debt fund budget request?
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4909-0000 Convention Visitor Capital Improvement with category requests of in services $100,000 and a total of $100,000 altogether.
Second.
So this fund comes from the innkeeper's tax, which funds upkeep for the convention center in its current form. We do set aside money every year for upgrades and mechanical failures and other capital improvements that go on in the building. So this year we've expended $67,000 already, and we have 100,000 where we anticipate keeping it at the same level of contribution. Our total fund there is about 200,000 right now.
Okay. Other questions on this fund? Okay, seeing none, could we have a roll call vote on moving forward with the capital improvement budget request?
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes?
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
I have a question on that, though.
Okay.
I mean, just for clarification, those dollars are also available for the visitor center as well, correct? I wanted to make sure.
Absolutely. And so, and as a matter of fact, this year we expended funds for the repaving of the parking lot for the visitor center. So we're still certainly maintaining that property as well as just the convention center.
I remember years ago, we didn't have that fund, and I said, we really need to do that because
Right.
these buildings will need repair. And I'm glad we did, because there's been times you really needed it.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate the work you've done. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now at item number 9 on the agenda.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 12220000, Emergency 911, with category requests of, in the services category, $867,000, for a total of $867,000.
Second.
If I may, before this budget presentation, I did want to advise the council of an anticipatory comment. When dispatch's budget was presented to the city council, there was a request to increase the budget to include a nurse within central dispatch. That request was brought to the policy board and voted down. Typically, in our interlocal, the dispatch policy board makes recommendations to the council. In speaking with the city counterparts, it is believed that if one council adopts a higher budget and a second council adopts a lower budget, the lower budget would prevail. It is my understanding that the city council adopted a higher budget, but on a contingency, and I don't know what that contingency is. And so I reached out to the city council attorney, Mr. Lucas, to gather further information.
Well, all righty then. Thank you. Yeah.
Our adoption is considered the final vote, not anything we do today, right?
Yes, this is not the final adoption of the dispatch budget.
Thank you.
Are there questions for our attorney before we get started? Yes.
I would just like to say that if we have a lot of questions on this, we could just all say pass and not make any definitive yes or no on it, which is what I will probably do.
Councilor McKim.
So the version of the budgets that we have in front of us are the versions that have been approved by the policy board.
Correct.
Thank you.
Oh, it is? I
Yes,
thought,
what we have here is
All right.
what was approved by the policy board.
and the policy board is made up of our sheriff's department and city and whoever's in charge of central dispatch. Is that the 3?
It's a test.
There you go.
There are 5 members.
5?
There's city police, sheriff, IUPD,
Oh, I forgot that.
city
Yeah,
fire,
that's
and county fire.
All right. Okay, so now I will say welcome Chief Dekoff and Ms. Taylor. Good to see you. And we have your budget, so are there things you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so we use,
Okay, I'm Sarah Taylor. I've not met most of you, so hello. I'm the Director of Civilian Operations. One of my primary duties is to oversee the Monroe County Central Emergency Dispatch Center. We use the E911 fund for our communications contract and for instruction. So the first thing I'd like to cover with you is our communications contract. There is an increase. We had a 10-year agreement with our computer-aided dispatch and records management system, that is Motorola Spillman. That expires mid-year next year in 2024. Motorola has given us an option to renew with them for 5 years, and their first year, of course, is going to be the highest, the majority of the lump sum. So that year one's cost is $338,000, with years 2 and 5 anywhere between $135,000 to $150,000. So that's the big increase that we're seeing in our communications contract. The rest of it is around the same as it was for 2023. And the instruction portion of our E911 fund, as we move into a hopefully post-pandemic world, a lot of our communications partners are opening back up conferences and training. Our training coordinator is very good about finding opportunities for dispatchers, and our dispatchers are education hungry. They strive for excellence and really pick up on those opportunities. So we are asking that that amount stays the same so that they have as many opportunities as they have had in years prior.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from council? Councilor Iverson.
Again, thank you for being here. One of the things that we keep hearing is about vacancies and the trouble with, making sure that staff is retained and talent is retained. Can you tell us a little bit about what the staffing situation is in dispatch?
We have 10 dispatch vacancies right now. As we increase our total FTE allotment, that vacancy rate of about 9 or 10 is staying the same. So we are seeing more personnel in the center. We're just, for the last 3 years, have increased our staffing, so it looks like it's the same. But percentage-wise, we are getting a little better. A shortage of dispatchers is not a Monroe County problem. It's not a City of Bloomington problem. It is a nationwide problem and has been since prior to the pandemic. The pandemic just made it worse. We have a lot of interested candidates, and unfortunately, year after year, we're finding that they are being offered more money to stay at their current job or getting a gig working from home. So we see a lot of good quality applicants not choose to start a new career in dispatch.
Yep, we've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councilor McKim.
Yeah, and I know the question of reserves is a complicated one because there's kind of a city reserves pool and then there's a county reserves pool that we haven't distributed. Do you have a sense of and I know that the money that's not spent by the end of the year in the budget goes to reserves that then can be used for capital equipment. Do you have a sense of what the size of that is, and is it adequate to fund your capital replacement needs?
I'll defer to Chief Dekoff. I have not heard anything about that.
Actually, I do not. That is something that the City Controller's Office really keeps track of. And I know there's lots of communication with the county on those funds, but I don't have an exact number of what those are.
Okay, I'll talk to Mr. Cockrell on that.
Other questions? Yes.
Yes, I don't have the interlocal agreement in front of me. Are you prepared to speak to that this evening? Speaking to our county attorney.
I have the interlocal in front of me.
The reason I asked that question is when this was first put together ages ago in that interlocal, there was discussion about what would happen with reserves and what could actually happen if they have so many openings that they haven't filled, but we budget it, well, then that sets in their reserves. If we budget what we believe is the actual need and to the point that they are going to be able to fill those slots, then that sets in and I hate to say this without having the interlocal agreement in front of me, but I believe what it says is that that stays in a fund that the auditor sets up, and that would stay in the reserve. Now, what is important about this is if there's ever a shortfall, then what happens is 50% of that the city pays and 50% of that the county pays. Now, I'm stating this from an interlocal agreement that I saw years ago. If there's a newer one since that time, I'd be happy to see it. And if I'm remembering this incorrectly, I'm happy to be reminded why I'm wrong.
Just hang tight for a second.
So in looking at the interlocal, and can I share my screen?
I can't say it.
So it states that, oh, sorry, made it too big. What I made, sorry, can I have a second? When I made it bigger, I lost my spot. While I look for this, I do believe Councilor Munson has her hand up.
Who's managing this meeting? Councilor Munson, please go ahead.
Yes. Hello, Chief Dekoff
Good
and
evening.
other board staff. I served as the council liaison to the Dispatch Policy Board for a number of years. And this helped us as a council have information about the balance in the reserves. And every year it was a challenge to get this because we had to put both the city controller's office and the auditor together. Now, our auditor is on top of everything as I understand it. And I think we should all benefit from looking at what the reserves are and understanding both the amount, which is what I'm asking for, and our mutual agreement, which is what Councilor Hawk has had her question concerning. So I'm appealing to my fellow councilors for us to give Chief Dekoff time to get this information put together with the controller's office, and I know our auditor's office will be ready to work on this too, so we can hear this when we consider the several budget items that are still going to come back before us. That's my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McKim.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I know that Jeff Cockrell and Angie Purdy are both kind of up on this, and they've had frequent communications with the controller and the auditor about this. So I would start with them before chasing down any other information. They're going to be pretty current.
So I think the paragraph displayed on the screen that says starts with 2 addresses Councilor Hawk's question. So to the extent dispatch funds exceed the budget, it should be held by the county in either the Monroe County 911 Fund or the Public Safety Answering Point Local Income Fund. Any excess dispatch funds consisting the reserve funds shall be held and expended only for capital cost emergencies or other expenditures that are mutually agreed upon by the parties.
And that's what I was referring to. There's both the county side and the city side. The city side is what's already been sent over and reverts at the end of the year, and then, is available for essentially for capital expenditures. Is that what you were referring to?
Oh,
Was
I
that
know,
what
I
you
was
were-
like that, you're talking, I was waiting on him to answer. Right, and also, they wouldn't have quite so much in reserve if we didn't approve a budget that was more than we know that they're going to be able to fill. Because we've heard how many times they can only fill so many slots that are open because of training. You don't want to try to put that many new people on board and try to get them trained and effective. And I'm saying that only because that's what Chief Dekoff told me years ago, so I'm assuming he hasn't changed his mind. So I'm just saying there are reasons why we might have questions about this budget. And so, like for instance, I don't know how many vacancies you have right now, how many open slots.
There are 10 dispatch spots open, and we can fill 6 at a time, 3 to 4 times a year. So for those 10, we have potential, and I choose to be optimistic about this, that mid-year we could be fully staffed.
And as a reminder, what we can always do, if they feel like 3 slots, they need 3 more slots, there's something called an additional appropriation. We know how that works. We do that all the time. And that way we know we're working together as a team. And as you are able to fill those slots and you have more slots open, then we can discuss it again. And that's really, and then the reserve money, we have a better idea of where it is. And it's sitting there in the 911, and because we've had a lot of trouble trying to get the information we've asked for in the past. I'm not faulting you for this. I truly am not. I'm just saying this is what the history tells us.
Are these positions budgeted in this fund? Just as opposed to the next one, I'm just.
No, they would be in the next one under the PS Lit.
Okay.
I'm just talking in general.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify. Are there other comments or questions? Okay. This particular, are there questions then? I'm wondering if we could move forward on this budget and wait on the next one, or are they so inextricably linked that we would want to?
Well, what are the questions that are outstanding that actually have to do with the budget?
What that centers on the reserves, location of reserves and use of those funds, I believe.
Well, that's how it's funded. That's not what the.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want
But
to
I
actually
think-
cut positions, but we don't. I mean, we don't budget the county that way. We still budget as though all our positions are full, even when we have. I mean, don't we? Our sheriff's department, all their personnel lines
Yeah,
are fully
and the
funded.
money that stays there, it's still county money. It's not like split with a different unit. If you're comfortable with it, you should do whatever you're comfortable with.
It's no. I was just trying to get to understand what the nature of your outstanding questions are.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead then. If there are no further questions, oh, I see Cheryl Munson has her hand raised. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I wanted to comment that the only thing related to my question was the equipment line, and that's only $50,000 because the reserve funds are for what is needed, but principally focused on equipment.
There's,
And it's actually budget.
that line is 0.
That line is now
Counselor
0.
Munson.
Yes. So it doesn't make any sense to
Okay.
do anything with this particular budget in that regard.
All right. In that case, I will go ahead and ask for a roll call vote on the emergency 911 request.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Pass.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0, 1 pass.
Thank you.
Council, I move to open for discussion and review Fund 4933-0000, PSAP lit interlocal with category requests of, in the services budget, $2,585,000 for a total of the same.
Second.
Hmm.
Did I read it wrong?
No.
Yeah.
So, do you have any details to share about this budget before we ask questions?
We covered a lot of it. I just want to reiterate that we are planning on having a hiring process either at the end of the year or the very beginning of next year, and then one a quarter after that to potentially be fully staffed by mid-year 2024. And I also want to tout some of the dispatchers quickly. This year has been a year of establishing a standard of excellence. They've been working very hard to go live with our emergency police protocols. Our law enforcement calls account for 77% of our call volume. So this is a change that impacted 3/4 of what they do, and they've handled it with grace and professionalism and really done a great job. We're hoping that the community's not even seeing that difference because these protocols are put in place to serve our community to the best of our ability, and we're really excited to see that move forward. We also are seeking CALIA accreditation for 2024. If anyone's not familiar with that, that's the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement. It's the gold standard for law enforcement and communication centers. So we've been revamping our SOPs, making sure that the way that we operate is the way that we say that we operate, and it's just another way to distinguish the Monroe County Central Emergency Dispatch Center as top of the line. Our budget asks are largely unchanged. The only thing I do want to comment on is our capital outlay, which is $35,000. We currently only have 2 radio consoles that are permanently encrypted. That encryption allows us to listen to covert ops channels. Those are channels that the public cannot listen into or interfere with. Our other 7 consoles are encrypted through a patch. It's basically a workaround that's not sustainable. So that $35,000 would be to encrypt the remaining 7 positions. And that's all I have.
Okay. Questions or comments? Counselor McKim.
And sorry, this may be as much for our auditor's table as anybody or for the council office, but is it your understanding that the PSAP rate was set at the same rate as last year?
Yes.
Okay.
So that would bring in a lot more money.
But
Welcome to the county technology situation.
I do think the PSAP rate was recently adjusted to try to reduce the amount of reserves that was resulting.
Right, this last year we did that, exactly.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make sure that was being retained. I guess that
There was no
lower rate
changes.
was being retained rather than the higher. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted that confirmed. Yeah, we did reset the rate last year to generate significantly less revenue so that we could use up some of the reserves.
It probably still brought in more than what was anticipated because all of the income tax was bringing in a great deal more than what had been projected.
Counselor Deckard.
Auditor's office.
I wanted to follow up on one of the comments that you made about the protocols, and I know every time I hear a siren, I know there's one of your folks is behind that effort to get that siren to the right place. If I'm a person watching at home, a member of the public, how will I know that service and excellence protocols? What kind of things might I notice differently in my interaction in a really harried, awful time of my life? What would that be like for me?
The main thing that these protocols are doing is streamlining the way that we ask questions. So dispatchers are human beings, and that leads to deviation. These protocols lead the dispatcher down a specific path that the end game is sending the right units to the emergency that you're having and giving any pre-arrival instructions. So if there's a medical emergency and you need to know to apply pressure to the wound, those protocols are giving those kind of results.
Thank you very much.
Was there a further comment from your table? No. Other questions or comments on this budget?
Oh, wait, I thought Ms. Gregory was going to say something before.
She said no.
I was just going to clarify that, yes, the rate was adjusted last year, and then there was an error on the DLGF level where that 0.25%, the allocation that goes between, the DLGF error, between, yes, so it was corrected for 2023. However, we found when we've gotten the estimated 2024 numbers, they're not accurate, and we're still waiting for that correction. So just so we're being completely transparent.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, keep us up to date on that. Thank you.
Further questions?
What happened to my?
Councilor Munson.
Yes, I have a question. What is showing on the screen doesn't seem to have anything to do with equipment or personnel. It just says city interlocal, and that's it.
That is all we see as well.
So is there something else that we should be looking at?
No,
Because we've talked about personnel, and I've talked about purchasing equipment with funds from the reserves, and I want to talk about the right budget, but it doesn't look to be this way.
Not from our packet.
my understanding is we forward them this amount and then they disperse it within a budget that they set up. So this is all you're going to see from us is that amount. I have not received a detail of how any of that's broken down.
It would be very helpful to see that. Although I see that somebody has managed to
in the past, we have seen a number of personnel in their salaries. So with the interest of knowing about the reserves that are available and what's being spent for equipment purchases, et cetera, that could be paid for by reserves. I don't know really what budget we're looking at.
It's fair.
So there are actual legitimate questions to put off then?
Yeah.
And I don't want to hold up anything. Our dispatch operations are essential and critical. We're not going to be holding things up. We just want to have better communication and understanding.
But we could continue this to the work session as well, right? We still have time?
Yes.
This is going to be a doozy of a work session.
In the past, we talked about them giving us a monthly expense report, just like we give you for each department. I think that's really what you guys are interested in, right?
I don't know about monthly.
No, there is a detailed budget for the dispatch center that I have because I was on the PS Lit committee, and I'm looking at the packet from that PS Lit committee, but it sounds like that has not gone to everybody, and that would be very useful. It sounds like that would be useful information so that counselors could ask questions about the specific expenditure line.
Sarah, if you could forward that to me, I would appreciate that, and then I can share it with the entire council. I know Amy had done it in the past, so thank you.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes, for me, I remember looking at, you know, each line and knowing what you could tell which ones were vacant. And so if they feel like they can accommodate 3 at a time or whatever, then you put that in the budget. And then once they've got that 3 and they're ready to go for another 3, then we just add that in. And if they feel like that's more than they can handle, but at no time would I want to reduce the ability for Central Dispatch to serve the community. Money just sitting there and not really providing that service because they've got vacancies they cannot fill is not helping anyone. And certainly it doesn't help the communication of trying to get those dollars figured out.
Chief Dekoff.
Can I comment on that? So we've had these discussions over many years, how the city budget's one way and the county budget's another. The city does not, they budget for every position that is in the department. And so what it's sounding like is that maybe the county's not wanting to do that and have us come back. I don't know what that does from a legal standpoint, since both bodies have to approve the budget. So that is something I think that the city and the county legal departments might need to discuss to see how that's going to play out. Because I don't think that's ever been done, even on when the county does it over the number of years that we've had this interlocal.
And we do typically fund empty positions in the anticipation of them being filled. But I think the concern here is about the reserve, if I'm interpreting it correctly. Regardless, I'd like to see that. How did you get that? That's what I want to see. Well, that's just magical.
I apologize you didn't have that. We just missed that.
Councilor Munson? Oh, your hand
Yes,
is up.
I would like to assure Chief Dekoff that year after year, we received from Amy and from the prior dispatch director a budget listing positions and other services and charges, et cetera, and capital outlays. So it looked very similar to the kind of thing that was on the screen, but it didn't just say salaries and wages. It was a breakdown by type of position. And we just got used to seeing these. So I'm hoping that we can go back to that. And I believe from Councilor McKim's comments that this is what the PS Lit Committee received from dispatch when they had their meeting.
Councilor McKim.
So, okay, so
They already exist.
Yeah, this is exactly, I think, the detailed budget that everybody has been talking about. And then if you look at the very bottom, look at the bottom line, the grand total, you'll see that that's $4.6 million. The two budgets that we've been asked to appropriate are significantly less than that. The difference is in those reserves. And essentially, we're telling them to fund this budget out of these two appropriations, which add up to, I think, $3,452,000. And so the difference between the $4.6 million budget and the $3,452,000 appropriation that we'd be sending over are the reserves that they would be consuming that are already there at the city side. Does anybody disagree with me on that interpretation? Okay.
That's certainly what it looks like. No, and that is exactly what it appears to be.
And if I understand you right, let's say if there's, make up a number, 5 included in this budget that doing their best, they can't fill all those slots, that will just add to that bottom line.
it would add to the amount of reserves that next year.
You're right.
We
Right,
could.
just like just like we do with any of our budgets. There's the reason why when you're splitting a budget with another taxing unit, that's why this is an important question. So, but I question it every year. So.
What is the balance in the reserve? We don't know that or until, like, I know what was asked. I just wanted, I forgot what the answer was at this point.
Ask Jeff Cockrell and Angie Purdy.
Got it.
That's the answer.
Okay. Okay. And that's not a piece of information I have to know to feel comfortable about the budget, but seeing this is better. Are there questions, comments?
Councilor McKim, is that what you mean? Like, there's the grand total and then minus the two items? That's, that amount right there, it would be from the reserve.
Which we can't see because
you
it's
can't?
being blocked by the transcript.
Okay, hold on.
There you go. Yep.
How's that?
Yeah, that looks about right. 3, 4, 1, yeah,
Could you
2,
print
5,
that
8, 5,
out?
8, 6, 7. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, so we're essentially spending, they're going to be spending $1.2 million down of reserves to be able to fund, this budget.
So the number of positions, personnel-wise, the number of positions funded in your budget is the same as it was last year. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Are we prepared then to vote on this one? Not seeing objections, so I'm gonna do it. All right. May I have a roll call vote on moving forward with the PSAP Lit Interlocal 2024 budget request?
Councilor Deckard,
Yes.
Councilor Iverson,
Yes.
Councilor Crossley,
Yes.
Councilor Hawk,
No.
Wiltz,
Yes.
Councilor Munson,
No.
motion passed 5-2.
don't-
Thank you.
Did you vote?
I don't even think I got to vote.
Oh, I clicked your name, I meant. Councilor McKim,
Yes.
thank you. Now the vote is 5-2.
Oh my God. Don't say that. Wow. This is how we act when the city folks come to visit us. This is really impressive. Thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
We are now at item 11 on our agenda. No. It shouldn't have said that. Okay. Okay. Lots of conversation. So we reviewed everything at this point. And I set aside this time in case anyone is interested in revisiting any budgets for further discussion. I will entertain any motions to do that if that's something that we're interested in doing.
I don't have any motions, just because I haven't honestly, haven't had the time to put them together. I've had to do the day job, as I think all of you.
Yeah.
So I'll hold them off to the work session. But I think most of it was just small movement from various expenses to cable franchise. And then I think there was, I don't know whether anybody has any interest in, at that point, any motions related to overtime, reducing overtime. But
I might.
I might as well. So.
Okay. And I'm perfectly willing to to hold off on that conversation. Go right ahead.
I don't want us to forget the highway department, that extra $1 million, whether we're going to put it in rainy day, whatever. It's setting in their budget, and they're over budgeted by, I think it's right at that $1 million. It's the same thing we did for the 2023 budget, so that they could do more paving, so that they could accept the community crossing grant. If they get the community crossing grant, there's no money left to speak of to fill the potholes. So let's not forget.
Yep.
Make a decision, yes or no, at some point in time.
Yeah, and I think that has to be part of the larger discussions, once we've had time to process what we've looked at this week. And last, Councilor McKim?
Oh, no, finish yours. I have another thing.
Oh,
Finish
okay.
your-
No, that's fine.
And the other thing to add to our list of things to discuss at the work session on budget is possibly moving part of a position in the recorder's office out of general.
Right. Well, and did she say that she was willing to do something with the perpetuation fund?
I haven't talked to her since.
I haven't either, so.
Looks like
Auditor Smith talked with her.
We spoke today, and she seemed amenable to doing half salary, not the whole salary. We discussed that, so she may be coming back and making a proposal to you. It's very, very possible. The other thing is,
I would think half a salary would be quite reasonable. I would take
yes,
that.
and I think she's a very frugal person, so I think she's, making sure that everything is doable and sustainable, because she's an amazing person. So anyway, Bree had a comment on the highway, so I'm gonna let her talk that.
Just generally, I just want to remind the council that if the commissioners and council are agreeable, ARPA could be a problem solver for some of these expenses that are eligible as well.
At least short term, you're correct. That's right. Other ideas, thoughts, comments?
Whether that comment had to do with some of the ARPA discussion that we had having to do with covering some contract coverages or so forth. And that was a substantial amount of money that we could cover with ARPA. Even if we just covered it a couple of years, it would be a huge amount that would be left in county general. I know that was going to be everybody's last ditch choice. You didn't want to do it. But let's not forget that the opportunity is there.
Well, and similarly, I would like us to at least consider some of the opioid settlement money. There's also, we've got the AEDs, we've got the jail contracts. Some of the items in the jail contract are directly related to issues covered by the opioid settlement, even for the restricted funds.
And there's revenue ongoing in that particular fund for 18 years or something. I forget how many years, a lot. Was it 18?
In the opioid settlement fund, payments will come in for 18 years under one of the agreements.
One of the positions covered in the jail contract was a substance use counselor. Why aren't we paying for that substance use, whatever the prorated amount for that substance use counselor out of the opioid settlement?
And I want to add to that and say that we heard resoundingly from the sheriff and his team that care was a huge part of some of the changes they're doing even now. And I think that that is for certain an appropriate consideration, particularly given what all is going on. I also want to say that, again, I think it bears repeating every evening that I appreciate all the elected officials, including the recorder, for the comments that she's made to the auditor and our department heads who are looking hard or have looked hard at those dollars so that we can do what we need to do as a county for service, but also to take care of our employees as best as we are able. And I know that that has been the diligent work of all of us, and it is part of this, the machinists that we're talking about again as we manage our money. But I think that also is just a huge thing that we should be grateful for as our people come together on that.
Counselor Munson? Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you. Counselor
still
Munson,
muted.
you're on mute.
Look, I've only been able to barely hear what's going on for all these sessions, and it's very difficult. And then I have a computer that doesn't switch mute and video off and on very easily. So I apologize for that. That's on my end. The other is on our standard microphone audio problem end. So my question is, when are we likely to be able to discuss the opioid settlement funds? And can we do this in time to relate these to our budget process?
So I have it.
And
I have it.
anybody have a comment?
I have it scheduled for our work session as a topic of discussion, which presumably would be soon enough. However, the guidance on how those funds are to be spent is not very detailed from what I've heard. And so I do know that it might benefit us to have a conversation with the commissioners as to how to spend those funds. Counselor McKim.
The other thing is the jail medical contract doesn't even start until June or July. Is that right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
And along the same lines, I do have a meeting scheduled with Advanced Correctional to talk about the quote that she provided at the jail. So I should have some additional information on that request for council.
I guess what I'm saying is we have some time before that contract actually gets executed and then it gets spent out to do some research on this. But I definitely would like to push for us actually using those opioid funds.
Yeah.
And
please go ahead.
And if we do that, then that 425 of the correctional tax could be used for anything in the jail to reduce. So it doesn't have to be that particular thing. We
Right,
could
that was
use
just
for-
convenient.
It's
Yeah.
just, you know, so
right.
that could really help then. That's almost helping it by almost $1 million or more. If you take that 400 and use it for something else, and what you were going to use it for, you send it over to the opioid settlement. For what?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Musical chairs and marbles.
Yes, we have received a text message from Lisa Ridge. So going back to the highway.
Yes.
She said in moving forward to help the MVH budget, you can always move some salaries or parts of to stormwater or Cume Bridge, such as her salary, the highway engineer, and or the superintendent. So if you need to move funds there, she has given that as an option as well.
To free up some money for paving.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. It's very much to Councilor Deckard's point about the all hands on deck approach that our department heads and elected officials have been taking. It's much appreciated. Are there any other budget topics that from the reviews that you'd like to discuss?
I just had, I guess I shouldn't have assumed. I just assumed that staff was keeping track of when we said, well, we can move from here, we'll do that later. I'm hoping there is a list so that we're not forgetting what we were going to do later.
Yes, I've been making a list as we go, so.
My question is more of a logistical one that has to do with September 26th and the agenda.
I was just gonna pull that up, so.
I feel like we've put a lot of things off to September 26th because of the amount of time we've spent in these meetings and missing a full regular session. And so I'm a little bit concerned about how much time we're gonna have and how long that meeting's gonna be. And I thought maybe if I'm right, which I would like confirmation that it's exceedingly long, would council prefer to have a special session on the budget separate from the work session?
Well, what's on? I guess I want to see the agenda.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
But what can be put? Okay, I mean, we often talk about things that we could possibly put off. I guess.
Let me go ahead. We started an agenda of requests that have come in. So there is a request for that Phoenix closure. So the second phase is due for review at that time. There is a presentation of JFAC. Then we have several additional appropriations that were requested that we have moved. So there's commissioners, several from the health department with regards to grants. We have a tentative salary grid discussion as well with the health department. We have an additional appropriation from the jail with regards to the funds needed for their personnel due to that 15% increase. The highway, pardon?
Oh, is that just salary ordinance? Because we already did the appropriation, right?
Right, and it also includes overtime that's in there, so that they've used up because of that increase because we budgeted first and then you guys gave an increase. So they've moved monies around.
Okay, I'm sorry, we just did the contract additional. You're right.
Right. The highway is requesting additionals in the bituminous. The auditor's office is requesting in the contractual. We have a parks department fund-to-fund transfer that needs to be taken care of. And then we have on there an opioid discussion. A proposed GEO bond discussion is supposed to be taking place that night as well. And then what's not on here is also
the fair.
I have not put anything with regards to any decisions you're making with regards to budgets. We're moving the fair one there to be reviewed. I think there was another one. I made it.
We need a special session.
Oh, and Health Fund 1161 as well.
Yeah.
I think you're smart with saying let's split it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because I was gonna say, that's why I'm wanting to split it. Okay.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Probably need a month or two.
A month or
You
two.
are 100%
Be a full-time legislator. My heavens.
Starting to feel that way.
It's a lot.
Are you proposing to?
No, I'm not. Anyone watching, I'm not proposing to cut it.
Wait, was
perhaps.
that an announcement?
Madam President.
No.
Madam President.
Yes.
Okay, it seems to me one of the very big things that three of you folks have been working on for a long time is very reasonable to have a presentation of that. We're not going to make any decision that night. I would hope we aren't going to make any decision until the three of you have made your presentation.
Right.
So why cannot the three of you make a presentation at at the end of the meeting or at a special meeting of the three of you? It would take all of us to be there, make it, and be done with that, because that is a big portion that you've worked really hard for. So don't try to slam it in with 50 other things, because nobody wants to hear it with 50 other things. I mean, it's special.
Yeah, well, I hear you. I think the cat will be out of the bag mostly at the final JFAC meeting. And so,
that might be it. We could all listen in.
Right. I don't know that that is actually going to take maybe as long as it seems. I still feel that we should have a separate meeting for some of the budget resolution.
I totally
So
agree.
looking at a calendar and we can certainly wait and do a doodle poll, but we really do need to get it quickly. Is next week unreasonable?
As long as we have 48 hours to advertise, that's how soon we can put it together.
Okay, so would you, general feeling on council next week or a second meeting later in the week of the 25th-ish?
The 19th is this upcoming Tuesday, and that works for me.
That's too soon.
It's too soon.
Yeah, not enough time.
I could do either Thursday and Friday or the next week. I'd be.
You mean Thursday the 21st?
What are you saying, Thursday or Friday? Which ones?
Oh, sorry. I'm saying next Thursday or Friday, or any time the following week other than the day we already have it.
I would like to say, we have to get budget amounts in so that we can have them posted and advertised. We would like to have that done by the 20th, but our drop dead date is the 21st, that we have to have things into Gateway and posted. So I would prefer an earlier, like.
Wait.
Wait, but if the 19th is too early.
No,
what I first even work. I mean,
no, what I'm saying is, in order to we have to post what we think we're going to budget, and in order to have 10 days before the public hearing. So, yeah, so you go ahead.
So that's the advertising total, which we're going to inflate anyhow, but we have to have at least an idea so we don't go over.
Yeah.
I was saying, 'cause I thought we were going to have a detailed discussion of the cost of living at some point, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen before.
Well, I have it
You
as my
can
next
have a
question under
brief one,
this
yeah.
current item is, do we want to talk about COLA right now? But I have to be honest, I don't feel like we can go very far in a COLA discussion until I've sunk my teeth in, wrapped my head around, become very close with what we've
So we can,
talked about over the past few
inflate,
days.
what were we thinking, Bree, that we would do just to
Do we
cover
even have the
personnel?
dollar amounts?
Well, that's.
We were planning to inflate personnel about 25%, and then the rest of the budget 15, 20. So that's typically what we do. So I mean, you have cushion,
Yeah, so
but it's still a lot of work to
It's
get
a
the
lot of
correct
work,
numbers
so-
entered and so forth. So
It's a lot of work to do what?
just to make all those changes and get the correct numbers entered once you do make the final decisions. So we like to get a head start.
Right.
Well, I think regardless, we're going to need a special work session.
And I guess my point was, I'd rather do it next week rather than wait till the week of the 25th was my,
Tell me why Tuesday.
so that's what I was trying to get at, so.
Well,
Why not Thursday the 21st?
Well, I mean, would you even be able to get all the numbers together by Tuesday if we were to do it again on Tuesday?
And can we not
Which
just
numbers?
recess this meeting to whatever meeting and you don't have to advertise it?
That's true.
Well, I didn't hear what she
She
said.
suggested just recessing this meeting and then we don't have to advertise. The auditor is thinking this as well.
Well, Tuesday would be acceptable for me. I don't think.
Will we have answers to our questions by then?
What
And-
was my
Which
other question? Is
Yeah.
what exactly is keeping you
You're-
from making it? It's on, can you hear me?
Oh, no.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what is keeping you from making your COLA decision tonight. Because and I'll tell you why. We have plenty of cash balance and we have plenty of reserve funds in the rainy day that we could cover it. If you honestly believe that we cannot pay that bill, that employee bill, then I understand postponing it. But we can draw that out into a long discussion. Every employee in the county can show up for that next meeting that you're going to have, and it's going to end up being a very long discussion based on everybody wanting to speak. So I guess my question is, how close do you think we really are that, what is a differential that you feel like from that, if we went with the 8.5%, the differential that you think that we're
Discuss how many
is
hours?
in question?
Because a lot of people, though, I think there may be a difference among the council, for example, as to whether or not we would prefer that 8.5%, even if we stipulate 8.5%, whether it's 8.5% across the board, if it's 8.5% paid out as a flat amount to everybody, if it is, as WIS recommends, a different increase per job series. So, for example, maybe a higher percentage for comets. I mean, there are different ways. Even if we stipulate 8.5%, there are different ways that we might want to approach that. And
the reason I'm asking this is we can move ahead by putting these numbers into Gateway and advertising them ahead of time. If you have we will not exceed number. Like, does that make any sense? We have to advertise a higher budget. If we do not, they'll cut it, and you vote for a higher budget, they will cut it back to what we advertise.
So
we don't wanna-
advertise very high.
That's what we
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll say it again. We've had folks that have come forward, given us options. We have our highway department director is literally texting in results on things we can move around in that budget.
We hear this.
I represent the taxpayers.
The dogs are driving me nuts.
I represent the taxpayers in this process, and I have to see things in writing
Listening to it.
and these things fleshed out. We've had attorneys for 2 different nights tell us that COLA this would work, but maybe perhaps this would not, 35, 40. There's lots of different options. And so I'm saying, as a person that is charged with doing this, I'd like to have kind of some numbers in writing with some other things fleshed out. The advertising thing, that's something that, to me, that you all have to figure that out. I have to make decisions on what I can do responsibly for those employees, of which I'm charged to make sure they get everything they can. So again, I don't want to blow the doors off, and I don't think, and I will be, to be honest, I don't think we'd make many decisions kind of on the fly like that anyway. So we got to do our job. I remember one December we were in here working on things while people were going on break. We're not close to that at all, and we won't be. We cannot do that again. But I think we can give us another minute or two on this one, because we have been working hard towards.
Thank you for articulating what we're thinking. Appreciate that.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes. Any of you? I mean, you.
To throw a wrinkle in the next week plan, though, I'm looking at the calendar for county meetings, and it appears on the 19th, the Plan Commission is in this room at 5:30. On the 20th, there's a redevelopment commission at 4:30, and then the room is booked from 5:30 to 7 on the Thursday for the Women's Commission. So Wednesday's redevelopment.
Could we offer, I mean, that's certainly true. Could we offer the council conference room? Is that big enough?
Are they on cats? Of course, we do pack on cats, don't we, from the conference room? Yeah.
Wait just a minute. County budgets. Even if someone would have to slow down at some other meeting that's not required by law.
Yeah.
So that we could get our budget work done.
Well, that's fine with me. I mean, I don't care.
No, I think he's just making sure that they have cats and everything in there. I think it's fine. Monday is JFAC.
Monday is
JFAC.
JFAC.
Yeah. We're gonna recess this meeting. And
in order to not advertise, you have to state the date that you're reconvening.
yep, I'm going to in just a free
Sorry.
half second here.
All right.
But before we do that, is there anything else that we need to talk about tonight? Yes.
I have a non-budget issue.
What?
Sorry. So last night, during this meeting, there was a discussion of the assessor's job descriptions, and the council voted to move the provided job descriptions to WIS prior to the PAC meeting. However, in communicating with the assessor's office, Michelle was advised that the job descriptions have been redone again. So the council has not seen the job descriptions that would potentially be going to WIS. The copies that you were provided are not the most recent copies. So I guess I'm just trying to get some council feedback on how you want to proceed, because last night you voted to send job descriptions to WIS, but now that's changed.
I received a phone call from Lisa Surface saying that they had a meeting today. They were finalizing all the changes. Judy was going to take them home over the weekend, and hopefully I would have them on Monday. So, but I don't know. So,
I mean, my suggestion is that when they are actually finished, that they be sent out to the council, and then at whatever if anybody objects to sending them on to WIS, we can make that objection at the next meeting, because we already know that WIS is not going to be able to deal with them right away. They already stated they can't. So we've got a little bit of time. Let's just get us the final version, and if anybody wants to put the brakes based on anything they see.
Well, we just want to make sure that you knew ahead of time that they were in the process of changing them since you received the original copies.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Back to the recessing of the meeting. Yes. Auditor
Is there
Stone.
anything that we can do to help you? That's where I was trying to get to make it easier. Is there anything you want from us to make the time shorter between now and your postponed or your recessed meeting?
Councilor Iverson?
One of the things that Bree had mentioned was some options for ARPA. It would be nice to have those enumerated. I have some in my head, but I don't know that that's comprehensive. That would be helpful to know kind of your recommendations, since you're so familiar with those Treasury guidelines.
Sure, I'll put together a list and send it your way.
Thank you so very much.
You're very welcome.
And similarly, a list, if it was kept, I've got my notes, but if anyone has notes on the things that we said we were trying to move, and then some of them we did, and then some of them we just said, hey, good idea, let's talk. So if we could work to get everybody's stuff maybe in one spot, and so we have
a motion written out ahead of time, right?
What?
Is that what you're thinking?
no script.
There's no shame in getting it right. By writing it down.
So,
And also, I'd like to see a list, provide you with a list that has been cut out to help make room for raise money. I think a total amount where everybody has given money back in general fund. I think that would be nice to say, this is how much
I
has
think
been.
that's what Kim's been giving us every day, so she can just make the total. And then, yeah, that would be nice too.
Maybe we should look at schedules.
That's where I'm getting. So next week, this room is booked like Monday through Thursday, it sounds like.
Yes, that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Looking at the calendar.
Plan
And who is on Tuesday?
Plan Commission.
Plan Commission.
And then redevelopment on Wednesday and Women's Commission on Thursday.
Is Wednesday moving redevelopment okay, or are we only considering the one moving? Are you available on Wednesday?
I am available on Wednesday. Oh, am I? No, I'm not.
Can we meet in the county council room?
Yeah.
We're not that big of a group.
We could. No?
Why couldn't the
Excuse me,
Women's Commission-
redevelopment commission usually starts at 4:30 and usually runs about an hour.
Oh. Well.
I'm just not available that day, but that's okay.
Well,
I'm not
Well, they
taking
can watch
public
it.
comment. There's not public comment at this.
It's just more work. Is the,
Is anyone unavailable on Thursday?
Hold on.
I'm good until 9.
I can change my.
I am hearing from someone who is offering that the RDC is small. I'm sure they could move.
Well, and also the RDC meeting is even calendared to 6 o'clock, so if you started immediately following.
that's what I was gonna say. We could start at 6 o'clock rather than 5.
but on the September 20th is the RDC meeting, right?
Correct.
But we would be without Counselor
Well,
McKim.
hang on, I might
September
be,
20th is also the,
I think that might be unhelpful.
The Thompson.
to not have-
I can make it on I can move. I can blow off.
You're right.
So for the public, right?
Are we
Wednesday?
serious? So here's the deal with Wednesday. Commissioner Githens announced yesterday, and I believe we all got the email about the Thompson site at Summit at 6:30 next Wednesday. There are 2 sessions. There is one on the 20th, and then there's also another one that following Sunday, the 24th, at RCA Park.
They may have to pinch hit on that first one while we do our.
I think, obviously, the nature of the business is to get the business of the council done, staying in our lanes, doing what we got to do. And so I would think that the next step would be the 20th. Yeah, they're doing theirs and we're doing ours. So if the 20th works here, then my suggestion, as the voice of reason.
Are you all right?
Are you the voice of reason now?
Could be more open on that.
I'm out of juice. Water.
Okay.
Doing great.
I can do the 20th.
Okay, would you make a motion I think that's what has to happen, right?
No, I think you as the chair can
Oh, I
recess
can
us
just
to
say it?
whenever you want.
That sounds great.
But can I ask one thing before we do that?
I was dancing.
No, I just wanted to see if Michelle can produce and make sure she knows what kinds of numbers we need. She's already working, I know, on the attorney's numbers. It sounds like now we also need to have an updated grid for the, if we were to give 8.5, and other counselors may have other numbers. I'm saying I support 8.5. So I would like to see a grid for 8.5 across the board and 8.5 paid out as a flat amount. And we can then kind of interpolate between the two because there might be various options.
Yes.
Is that, and then also the fiscal impact, which I know will be the same either way, for all of the funds in the frozen levy and the PS levy.
Okay. Yes, I am. I kind of sort of already have the grid set up. So
I figured.
Yeah,
you already-
I've got it ready. I just got to plug in numbers. I'll work on the fiscal impact. What I'm currently working on is the attorney grids with regards to where they're at right now, so you know how many are in each classification, 35 and 40, as well as then now I'll use an 8.5 to give you that fiscal impact. There was mention by both the public as well as the prosecutor how other counties are hiring in at a base of like 70 and 80. Is that a target amount you would like to see in the attorney grids, and what it would look like, how to get there as a hiring in kind of place, or that kind of thing? And also, I'm working on the Comets, and I just did a review of all the Comet positions and where they're at on the grids. At this current time, we have no Comet A positions in our salary ordinance. Everything is B, C, and D.
That's interesting.
So I had heard from some people maybe trying to get that bottom line of the Comets up to at least a $20 minimum at the minimum spot. So 8.5 may put them there, but that's where I'm at right now on, so I'll just add those to my list. But I didn't know what you wanted to see as far as numbers with regards to attorneys, other than the 8.5.
I guess I would like to see in writing some of those other reference salaries to the surrounding counties. And I agree, you know, what Fort Wayne does is not really that relevant. What it is relevant, what Lawrence County does is relevant, because our attorneys could easily drive down there, just like Councilor Hawks.
Okay.
My guidance is going to be along the same lines is reaching out to the department heads in the affected departments, because the prosecutor, the public defender, because they're the ones that are trying to recruit and having trouble with it, and they're going to have access to the numbers that Councilmember McKim just referenced.
Okay.
Is 5 p.m. okay on Wednesday? 5 p.m., is it okay? Wednesday?
Yes. Councilor
5
Munson.
p.m.
Counselor Munson? Can you hear
Did
me?
you just, I tried to comment earlier. Thank you for asking me, but it's already decided now. It's Wednesday, right? At 5?
We're hoping it's Wednesday. What are you saying about Wednesday?
At 6, not 5.
No, I was going to urge Thursday. And I didn't understand why that was
Oh, because I didn't say anything.
Kate can't make it.
I raised my hand. I have a prior engagement.
Jeff can't make it. Okay, thanks.
Oh, blame me.
Kate can't make it.
Seeing as how Kate can't make it, Wednesday at 5 sounds great.
So, Cheryl, are you able to attend on Wednesday or participate via Zoom?
Did she leave? She's still here?
Oh, Cheryl, if you're there, could you let us know if you are able to attend on Wednesday?
I will be able to attend on Wednesday by Zoom, but I wanted to tell you that I thought it was very important for me to try and have some presence at the meeting on Wednesday and Sunday, because I'm the one who pushed the commissioners on this first, and I just was hoping to find a way to get there, but I will just hang out and get on my phone on Zoom and see you Wednesday.
Okay.
It sounds like the staff is trying to push us to do it later in the day.
So that we don't have to move anybody out of this room? Is that why? Are you suggesting 6 instead of 5 because you don't want to have to move the RDC?
I don't think we can move them, but I think we can say immediately following RDC.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Okay, we'll do 6 p.m.
Yeah, let's do that.
6 p.m. on Wednesday.
Okay.
This meeting is officially recessed until 6 p.m. on Wednesday, September 20th, here in the Nat U Hill Room.
Jeff Kate Wiltz.
Thank you. you.